Hey everyone, thanks for joining the Leaders List. My name is Bryon Morrison. I'm the CEO of Proxxy, and I am joined by the Chief of Staff, Tony Amador. Hey Tony.
Hey Bryon, good to see you this morning.
The Leaders List is always about identifying what CEOs are thinking about, what's at the top of their list. This month, we're going to do something a little bit different, Tony. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that tend to slip off the list that could be more important in the long term. And so specifically, we're going to talk about personal CRM. Personal CRM could mean, it comes from the idea of customer relationship management or contact relationship management. It's your network. It's how important the people are in your life that are employees, your vendors, partners, even competitors. How do you stay in contact with the right people at the right time? The role of executive multiplier or chief of staff is centrally connected to that. So, Tony, why do you think personal CRM is so important?
Yeah, I think ultimately every business is a people business. And so the stronger the executive's network is and how they work that network, really the stronger their organization can become. And if they're working that actively, well, then things come to them easier, it almost feels like, right? And those execs we work with that really manage this, you see whatever they need, it feels like they know somebody.
You're so right. It's like the snap of a finger when they say, hey, I need to find somebody. And they're the people that go, sure, I know somebody.
Yeah.
So what do you think are the biggest mistakes that you see when top executives in small to medium-sized businesses are trying to figure this out and manage their network?
Yeah, I really think it's just that they don't take the time. Right. It's that if it's some people, it's supernatural too, and that's just what they do as a matter of course. Most people, it's not the thing that's top of mind for them, and they lose track of it. And so then when you need it, it feels super forced, right? When you all of a sudden jump in and now you need something.
You're so right. I mean, how many times have you gotten that call from somebody and they're like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, we haven't talked for 3 years, but I know you're about to ask me to help you find a job, right? Mm-hmm. I always find that the people who are really good at this, it's not natural. It's something that they work at, or they have somebody who helps them through that process of keeping that top of mind. And I think, as leaders, we constantly forget about the power that you have in a message. Yeah. In a note to someone, how you can help lift people up by helping them, find their next job, find their next opportunity, pick an initiative that matters to them in their job, in their work. You can't underscore the importance of a well-timed message.
When I'm in these meetings with the exec team and they say something about Joe did this or Jane did that, and they're fighting over who's going to get Joe on their team or who's going to get Jane on their team. And none of that gets to Joe or Jane, right? If someone doesn't think, you know what, when I leave this meeting, I'm going to stop by and tell Joe this happened. I'm going to write to Jane and say, man, everybody was fighting to have you today. And the impact that makes on Jane and on Joe, that even that got passed along, you can't even measure that. And keeping that mindset kind of really throughout everything you're doing, that those little nuggets are helping someone.
Yeah. How often do you and our chiefs of staff go and have those conversations behind the scenes on behalf of the CEO?
Oh, and it's a lot, right? And especially in our remote world. And so I shoot a Slack message off to that employee to say, man, all the partners were fighting over who's going to get you on their new team. So what do you think, when it starts, what's the approach that you take to personal CRM? I mean, how do you actually pull that together? What are the headaches that you see?
Right. Like how do you actually do this? It's, there's a couple of pieces to it. One is the organization, right? How do you get all that information in the right place? Because right now, what happens is somebody's got something on their phone, they have something on the computer, they have something in email, they have something in Slack, they have all these different sources. And so that's wonderful, but there's an abundance of information and a lack of organization. And so I think that's number one. You have to have it organized, and then there's the way that you deploy it. And that's really what, like you're the expert in that, and, our teams are the expert in that. So,
right. So, I always think about this one in particular. We do this all the time, but we had an exec that was going to New York for one pitch. And that's really what they were thinking about, was the one pitch. And of course, that's all you're thinking about, right? Leading up. So they're not thinking about, oh, when I go to New York, I also need to see these two people, or I also need to do this thing, because they're just getting ready for the pitch. And so for a chief of staff and using our tools, we're able to say, okay, going to New York, we have these things coming up. We're looking for a new business developer. We're looking for a new whatever, and we're looking for and he hasn't talked to these two people for a long time. And so we set those things up. So, in particular, I'm thinking of this time where they were going for the one pitch. We turn that one pitch into 3 meetings with a prospect and a friend and a potential candidate. And so had those meetings, also a dinner and a breakfast. So he ended up, instead of this one pitch, I think total it was 5 or 6 meetings that he had. And then, and again, it's keeping up with people. With one of them, he found out that they had launched a new service, which I think 6 weeks later, that service came to mind when he met with somebody else, and he connected those dots. And so it meant business for his friend. But then he also met with this other prospect, and that looks like it's going to turn into something too. So all those pieces come together in one trip that none of that could have happened. It could have just been the new business.
So what we mean by personal CRM is the fact that you're literally keeping lists
Right.
by region for M&A, recruiting, partners, and clients is obvious, right? A lot of people are like, sure, I'm going to reach out to a client while I'm there. And, the other thing that I think is interesting is I don't know, I know actually this is true for you too, Tony. We've had tons of people in our network that we've been competitors with. They've been clients, they've been vendors. And then, sometimes you even end up working together, but in some capacity, you have to be open to those kinds of relationships forming. And so I guess the biggest thing I would say there is it's just important for us to be open to what our network brings back to us. If we do a good job of sending the message out, what we get back can be pretty powerful.
Oh, absolutely. And I would add to that the exchange. Proxxy's exchange is an offshoot of all that too. That as we started talking about what this could be, and part of it is, we need to be able to bring other partners into the mix for our clients. Well, wait a minute. You know all these people, and I know all these people, and Logan knows all these people, and we built our first pass at the exchange very quickly based on our networks and people that, to your point, had been competitors, had been employees, had been friends, whatever. But we'd already vetted all those people. We knew them. We'd worked with them. So it's so easy to bring them to our clients as people that, again, we've known for 5, 10, 15 years and worked with them and can vouch for how great they are.
Yeah. Well, we should probably note, so the exchange is an offering that we have within Proxxy. When we start working with clients, there's always going to be specialist needs. And so the chief of staff's job is to help get things done faster. And a lot of the times that means you've got to locate the right people to help do it. And so you're 100% right, Tony. The network is the benefit. Yeah. All right, man. Well, listen, this has been fantastic. For those of you executives out there that are working through your leaders list and you've gotten to the top of it and you know what the top priority is and you're already working on it, realize you probably missed out on your personal CRM. That's the next step. We're happy to help you with it. Thanks very much.